This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded April 14th, 2015, episode 245, with guest Akiba, Dimissory, Diagraphical, Debt.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
And I'm Akiba from Freak Labs.
Our savior.
Hey, Akiba, thanks for joining us.
He saved us, Dave. Last minute.
He did.
Under the wire.
Last minute.
Yep.
Like, literally the last, maybe 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
He stepped in, Chris tweeted, oh no, all our guests fell through. And
yeah. Well,
we're
Akiba was supposed to be on
in
2 weeks from now, but I'm going to be in Serbia, so that's not going to work out anyway. So it worked out really well. So, yeah, thanks so much for that.
Nice.
And we got some fantastic water pouring noises there.
Oh, sorry, that was my coffee. So, like, my morning coffee. It was like 9 something a.m. here. So.
Yeah.
and tell us where you are.
I am living in, like, the countryside, about an hour and a half outside of Tokyo. Me and some friends, we started kind of a co-living and co-working space, like a space called Hacker Farm. And we just kind of hang out here and we work on random projects.
Nice.
So what was it? Did the big city living? Is that the problem the Tokyo got to you, or what was the deal?
There's a lot of issues. Like because I lived in Tokyo for like 12 years, and then there's a lot of issues. Like, first of all, it's very, living in any city is really expensive.
Yeah.
And then, so I think that was the big thing is, originally me and my friend, we started this farm so that I could just have access to dairy cows so I could do cheese making. And
nice.
Then, and then, cause it was so cheap, it was like, it's $400 a month for 3 buildings. And then, so,
nice. Wow. Yeah,
so
that's really good.
So we just kept it on the back burner, and then I was just using it as like kind of like, we're going to have like kind of a hackerspace in the countryside. But then finally, I got sick of like in Tokyo, you have to hustle all the time to like pay rent, pay everything, all that stuff. So I think my rent was pretty up there. I think it was in Tokyo. I was paying like around $3,000 a month, and then
Wow.
And then finally, I just got sick of it, and I moved out here, and then it went down to like $400 a month, and then so I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All this extra money for toys. Yay.
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, it's weird because I bought so many things after that like now it's hard for me to think of like what I want to spend my money on. So I was like,
Yep.
So is this your full-time job, or do you have a real day job for a living?
I do various. So like I'm a researcher at Osaka University, and so I'm working on like DNA sequencer design.
Nice.
And then I'm like an affiliate researcher at MIT Media Lab, so I like kind of assist on various things. So I'll be teaching a manufacturing workshop in Shenzhen with Bunny in June for MIT Media Lab.
That's awesome.
There's something people should go to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we'll be doing factory tours, and then I want to do like factory tours that are kind of like outside of the MIT Media Lab pool, just for like just for people that are into like industrial porn, and so I want to try and figure that out too.
Right, like the biggest machinery you can possibly tour around and that kind of thing, like just the.
Well, they have, because like most of the places they'll just let you tour, and then like my friend is out there, and she's like she's a factory owner, and all the factory owners kind of like they're in Dongguan, they all kind of hang out together, and so she's like, oh, you want to tour a factory, just let me know, I'll like talk to my friends. And she's a socialite, so she knows all the factory owners' wives, and so like that's like the most important connection right there.
Yeah. First a cocktail party, and then you go and tour a factory and another cocktail
party. And then you whack on anesthetic lab coat and, and booties, and in you go.
That's awesome.
But it's crazy because they're all like American and Taiwanese expats. So like yeah, it's like it's possible to get into Foxconn or like a lot of the
Right.
big factories too. So
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember the pictures from. I'm guessing you were at that tour last time too with the Media Lab. Is that right?
yeah. So that was when actually Bunny and I were drunk at a bar in Tokyo, and he said, what'd be cool is if we did like a month in Shenzhen and we just toured a bunch of factories. I was like, if you do that, I'm totally in. And then it actually happened, and so
Awesome.
so that's kind of how like I think that materialized.
That's awesome.
So
Right.
actually, a lot of the stuff that like we kind of do is like a lot of just from being drunk and hanging out.
Wait, Bunny drinks?
In fact,
You drink? What?
are you? Oh,
I've never voiced over an intro to a video with you and Ian drinking either. So.
Oh my God, Ian is like I can't hang out with that guy because he's he like I need like a week to recover after every time I hang out with him.
This is Ian from
Like,
Dangerous Prototypes. We should mention if people
Yeah.
don't know as well. So yeah.
Oh yeah,
Drinks like a
sorry.
fish.
Yeah, and that was that tour is I was rewatching that right before we started talking, and so is that the apartment you were talking about where you'd crammed all that equipment in there and everything in Tokyo?
Yes. There was I mean, so there's a couple of apartments like out there that are like easy, like that have easy access to like Hwacheong Bay, and like it's like and so like yeah that was and so I forgot the actual name of it, but anyways but yeah, it's like they're rental apartments, and then you just rent them. They're like $15 a night, and so like we just rented a bunch of them for like I think 1 month. So we just got like so actually Bunny organized the whole thing. So I have to give him all the credit because he was just like he pulled off like some huge miracle in like logistically organizing all of that with all the millions of other things he has to do.
Well, actually, I was talking about the tour around your Tokyo workshop though. That's what I was asking about when Ian came and did a tour there.
Ian's thing.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, he came over like we were. He came over to do the tour. Actually, he was already drunk, and then we were about to head out to like a fetish club in Tokyo, and so he's like, oh,
What
and by
sort
the
of
way,
fetish
I'd like to. Huh? Well, it's like
What sort of
mostly
fetish?
it's mostly. I mean, it's not like a bad fetish club. It's like kind of just
Yeah, right. It's like PCB porn fetishes.
yeah, no, it's like
You've got these dancing PCBs up on twirling around poles, do you?
There- It's definitely not a. But it's mostly like kind of like a lot of like because there's like the alternative scene in Tokyo, and then there's like a lot of like kind of drag queens and like kind of like people that want to be known as like asexual or and,
Right.
like, or androgynous and stuff like that. And so like they have a monthly party called Department H, which is like kind of like I think in the U.S. they have like the fetish ball or something like that in San Francisco or something. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of like a big monthly Burning Man in Tokyo.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, and so like Ian would come to Tokyo, and then he'd like attend that. And so before we went, then he just came over. Oh, maybe we should tour your place. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was marveling at like just how much stuff you got. I mean, it was a small. I don't remember the dimensions of the apartment, but you had a ton of like prototyping equipment in there for.
Oh yeah. I mean it was. I'm shocked that I was able to cram it all in. So now it's like it's much nicer because I have like more space. But yeah, because like I have like my CNC PCB mill, which like I think I've heard you guys like go on and on about like kind of PCB printing and stuff, and
Yeah.
I completely agree
Yeah.
that a lot of it is a bunch of BS. But yeah, but my CNC PCB mill has served me quite well.
So what kind
Especially since
of
I
what
do
kind
a
of
lot of-
tolerances do you get on yours?
It's like let's see. I normally like for PCB milling, I normally use like 8 mil trace width 8 mil spacing just because it's it has like enough margin that I can guarantee like around like almost like a 95% success rate or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if I go lower, then there's a chance that like if something happens, then like it might break a trace or something. It just gets irritating because you have to like do a lot of repair.
Yeah. Yeah. Your flow is just to the point where it just kind of works now, huh?
Yeah, I think most of the stuff like I don't do like a lot of hardcore design. It's a lot of my kind of PCB milling is mainly to test out ICs, and so like just so I can get a feel for what they behave like, and then once I understand, or once I have like a working driver for like the ICs, and then I just like crank out a PCB. Like PCBs these days are just so cheap to
Oh yeah,
fab,
exactly.
so
Yeah. No, I think that's like the
And
perfect use case too. Like that's what it's for.
Exactly. And you've got your own pick and place machine. Tell us the
yeah.
details, the model, and
Oh yeah.
how useful it is.
I have like it's like a MDC. It's there was this company. So actually, I got a pick and place machine like many years back, and then and actually I posted the details on my website, and then that's when the Moore emailed me and said she was looking for pick and place for Adafruit. This was like way back in the day, and so like and then so she ended up getting the same pick and place too. It's from a company called MDC in Tokyo. And they had like, I guess, one of the first like kind of desktop pick and places. And it's really designed for proto. It's not really designed for like manufacturing. Like for manufacturing, you want like a Juki or like, Panasonic, Samsungs.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean like for like kind of a small compact plate pick and place that I could have in Tokyo, it was really good.
So are these things cheap and easy to get over there?
They're not that cheap. So mine was, when I bought it, this was like a long time ago too. So they were like, I mean, it was either like you get like the big expensive ones, and then so I found this place, and it was like they were, I think, originally like 25,000, but then there was like a used US, and there was a floor model. Yeah. There was
that was used, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a floor model that they had. He said, "Oh, well, I'll give you the floor model for like 15 grand," and then. At that time, I was like, kind of a fairly, a well-paid corporate engineer. Actually, at that time, I was actually doing a lot of sales and marketing too. And so like, you get like quite a bit of money when you do that. And so I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Bonus time means pick and place.
Well, yeah. So I think I've heard you guys talking about like kind of the difference between like, a development engineer and like an FAE and people that are belonging to like sales and marketing, and like that kind of work, like FAE work and kind of applications work totally sucks, but you just get paid like crazy.
Right.
And so I was just like, oh, all right, yeah, let's 15 grand, let's do it. No.
So what were you FAE for though? I mean, I guess I don't know your corporate history before that. I guess I always just saw your stuff online. So. Were you doing like for a chip company or something else?
Yeah, I was originally an IC designer. Like I had started my career off doing FPGA design, like video processing.
Cool.
So I was doing like a lot like I was using Xilinx FPGAs back when they were like the 4000 series, and like kind of the tool chain was just like this horrible mess.
Yep.
It still is.
Yeah,
but,
well, it's just there's more of it now.
They just built on it. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, and then like I would be like I was doing a lot of FPGA stuff, and then that was back when I guess like even CPLDs, like you had like gals and pals.
Oh
like,
yep.
So,
16 V8s,
Yeah. Oh, geez, it's like you like bad memories coming back now.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Trying to stuff your LED logic just so you could blink LEDs, and then you'd have like you use like a 16 V8 and like AND key. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. And you wouldn't design those using VHDL or Verilog. None of that rubbish. This was all.
No, this was Able. I think there was.
Able, and there was other, or you just hand do it, or you do it in schematic or whatever. It was like
schematics. That was when Carnot maps were actually useful.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So.
You kids these days not learning your Carnot maps. You got to reduce the tables. Right. Reduce the tables.
Get off my lawn. You kids and your JavaScript.
So what made you bounce out of that? I mean, was it just kind of gradual because you shifted into that sales role that you got sick of it, or was it something else?
Well, so like I was doing FPGA design, and then I kind of moved into like ASIC design, and I was ASIC design using Verilog. But and then I was doing a lot of IP core stuff, and so I was at a startup doing like kind of a USB like IC design and IP cores. and I had moved to Japan. And originally I had quit to move to Japan, but then it happened that that startup had customers in Japan. So like I told them, oh, okay, well, I'll do some like freelancing. So I went to the customer to help them out with one of their designs, and then I think, yeah, they were surprised that like, you know, like an IC designer would actually go out to their on site, and it's like, so I just helped them like kind of synthesize their design and all that stuff, and then just got it working. And then they became like a good customer for that company, and that company was like, "Oh, you know, you should be in sales." I'm like, what?
It's so natural. Then, You've talked to a customer once.
Yeah. It was weird. But I really hated sales and marketing because like you have to travel so much, and it burned me out.
Yeah.
But that's the career path of an engineer is pretty dangerous, because like if you fall for that sales and marketing trap, like so you like. You hone your skills. Yeah,
hey, Chris. I built more hardware than you last month.
Bastard.
Oh, okay. We're not. It's like snap.
Yeah.
Touche.
But yeah, because as engineers, like you're always trying to hone your skills, and if you get in a corporate scenario, if you get good enough to a certain point, then like basically, I think. Like management just tries and get you to manage other people, and then that's when when like your engineering career is over.
Yeah.
Right? So like
right.
Well, especially if you have like lifestyle inflation that goes with it, because you know, like if you have a family, you're like, oh, I want to give my family more stuff, and then you know the sales and management jobs that support that. It's like, well, now I can't go back to being just an engineer, or you know, or start over somewhere. Right. You know, like so you get trapped there, and so it's dangerous. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. And so like that was, you know, so I actually like when I got moved into that role, then it was just like I was getting like a lot of money, but then I didn't really get to work on my own designs. So I was always like, you know, helping other people out on their designs. And it was like actually I fell into like a depression because I had like, you know, like I just go to bars and like I'd buy people drinks because I didn't have like, you know.
Yeah,
and it was stupid.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. I hear that from a lot of FAE friends actually, that they're bummed about it. You know, like an engineer, like it's part of our identity, right? It's like I build things, I fix things, and then you take that away from them. That hurts. You know, like that's you feel less useful.
No, it was it's really because like I think from the beginning I was always just interested in like kind of designing stuff and like kind of creating things. So yeah.
So out of pain, this is where Freaklabs is born. Is that where it started?
Yeah. Well, actually, so an old professor friend of mine, he started a company in sensor networks, like with this new protocol called Zigbee, and he was on the IEEE for like the 802.15.4 committee.
Oh wow.
And he was asking me if I wanted to help out. So then I started working on that, and then sensor networks was really interesting because at that time there was absolutely like no money involved in it. So like the only people that were doing it were just like crazy people, like kind of hippies and academics.
Right.
And so
people who wanted to build things that could actually transmit to people's brains, and then people that thought things that were transmitting to their brains.
I think it's kind of, I mean, it's like, well, because like for sensor networks, you had to go all the way from like the hardware level and the RF, and then you'd have to do the protocol stack, and then the server backend, and then finally like the presentation and all that.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, there's a huge amount of domain knowledge that's required, and then so like, you know, it was just like you'd have to be crazy and spend all your time on it. And so that was like the most fun I ever had. And then so I was like, so for my corporate job, finally I was just like, you know, fuck this shit. I'm like, I'm out of here. No, sorry, I'm not allowed to say that, am I?
Take your money and stuff it. Who needs you?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. What like time frame? Don't worry, you'll get the explicit tag this week. Ooh.
Oh,
What time frame was this? Like what year was this?
What was it? I think around 2005, 2006. Then I just decided to work on like, this is when I was in the Zigbee Alliance, and I decided to try and write an open source Zigbee stack. So around, so 2005, 2006 ish, after the Zigbee spec came out, and then And then 2007, I established Freak Labs as like kind of an open source company. And then, I was just doing a lot of sensor networks. So that was when it was called Sensor Networks and not the Internet of Things. So now it's like, oh, God.
The good old days, right? So what happened with that stack? I mean, did that take hold or what happened?
No, what happened was there was incompatibilities like with open source licensing. So like the Zigbee Alliance required that if you use any part of the Zigbee specification, they actually become a member of the alliance. And it's like I think it was like $5,000 a year or something.
Oh,
yeah, it's stupid.
That sucks. Yeah,
and they'd have their meetings in like at like the Four Seasons Hotel, and like some whatever, blah blah blah. So
right, that's where all your money's going.
Yeah, that's
great.
Who's? I mean, I guess I don't know anything about these standards committee. Maybe Dave does. I don't know. But
oh, geez, it's like being on like Congress. In
so
the
like,
US.
who starts that though? Is that straight through IEEE? Like, who actually does that? Why is it so money heavy kind of stuff?
Well, because you have so generally you have the IEEE, which has like kind of, they do more of like kind of, the widely accepted. There's like IEEE, ITU, and all those that do like the widely accepted standards.
Mm-hmm.
So the IEEE for sensor networks did 802.15.4, which is the kind of the lower layer like MAC level wireless protocols. And then above that, they have like the networking protocols. And then so the Zigbee Alliance kind of stepped in and said, we're going to create this wonderful sensor network protocol that like does mesh routing, blah 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 blah, And so
is it companies though, or is it still like nonprofit institutions acting in profitable ways?
I mean, yeah,
it's called a junket, Chris. This is why they're so expensive. Everyone who goes to these things, that's just how it's done. Somebody else is paying, right?
I mean, like, technically, I think you could call them, like, non-profits, but the thing is they're extremely profit-motivated. So, like if you... Like, I used to also be on the USB-IF standards committee, and then... and basically, there's a lot of infighting because all the semiconductor companies are trying to get their, like, proprietary features integrated into the standards. Yeah, and then so that would kind of lock in, like, say, their chip. And so there's, like, millions of dollars at stake in all these things. And there's a huge amount of political infighting. So when I was for the smart grid, like I was also involved in like a lot of smart grid standardization in Japan and the US, and then like I was consulting for a company like Maxim Semiconductor, and Jesus, they would like, I mean, there was like pre-meetings before the conference to discuss the strategy, and and they'd be doing like stacking, like some companies like TI or whoever would do things like stacking the committee votes. So basically, whenever there's like a voting day, they would just have a lot of members come for that particular day, and like so they'd all count for the votes.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just like this is this is just politics in general, right? I mean, like it's just like yeah,
totally.
Yeah, it's like Congress. I mean, so like actually, I stopped. Like my stance on standardization is that like just create your own like standard, like an open standard, and then throw it out there and get something working, and then people will adopt it, have that de facto, and then have it as a like, because no matter what, like it's just going to end up politicized. So what really matters is just get something out there that works.
Right.
Got it.
Wow.
And that's what people can do. People can actually take it by the horns and develop a de facto standard if it gets popular enough. And it's easy to get stuff spread in today's, internet connected community, right? So, with blogs and everything else, right? If, a couple of key players start using it, then it just snowballs and bingo, you can, everyone has the opportunity to produce the de facto standard and avoid all that sort of,
I think
crap.
Like No, I totally agree. I and like that's why the whole Internet of Things right now I think is like bound to fail, is because they're trying to create some standard that works for everything. Whereas I think they should just have like a specific standard for like temperature sensing, or or a specific standard just for home automation, right? And only works for home automation. And then
I guess one of the hard things is RF, right? Because that's FCC regulated and all the rest, right? There are laws against, you can't just go transmit anything, right? So that's hard,
you can, because you would just normally use like a license-free thing. So
you could use a license-free band, yep.
Yeah, it's generally like 2.4 gigahertz, or right now like the sub gigahertz, so 900 megahertz is really popular too. So that's like all the home automation companies were using 900 megahertz because they get good coverage. And then, so the RF isn't really the hard part. The hard part really is the networking aspect, because people already have a hard enough time working on their like home networks. And then if you ask them like to network their light bulbs, it's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So
is there anything up and coming in that mesh sort of Internet of Things networking area that you like? Do you think it's going to be a formal standard that emerges, or it will be a de facto, someone out of their back lab is going to do it?
I kind of stopped like following, because like it was all just protocol wars forever, and like it's still protocol wars, and it's just it's all like
the most boring Star Wars sequel ever. Protocol Wars.
It is. It's horrible.
Attack of the Junket.
It's like politics, and like there's Intel and their faction. I think Samsung is trying to do their own. There's Qualcomm's.
Right, and that just leads to more incentivizing not privatization, but just not being open, right? Because if you're trying to make sure you capture the market, you just say, I'm the big guy, I own everything, you have to come to me, and then use my standards, right?
That's what they all want to do, and it's all like run by like all the people on standards committees are actually the morons of the company. They can't provide any other value. So then, tell us
what you really think.
Oh, sorry, am I being harsh?
I think it's truthful. Like, yeah, of course. Any engineer listening who's like, oh yeah, I've had to deal with that, I'm sure they would agree, right?
Yeah, because they're like, you have the professional people. Like, there are people. When I was at Maxim, or consulting for Maxim at least, there were people that were specifically hired just to be on the standards committees, and basically they're like politicians.
Oh wow,
it's gonna be so boring.
Yeah, and they're basically non-technical too.
Yeah, and
they're there just to kind of organize the the strategic management of like the standardization.
They're like undercover lawyers.
Wow. Pretty much. I mean, basically they have they have people that are like standards police, where they just know the standard inside and out, although they don't understand the technical aspects of it.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. Jeez.
But yeah.
Well, so you're outside that now. That's good. Whatever. I mean, like Zigbee's still around, but I don't really hear about it too much. Am I just missing it, or is it falling out of favor?
I kind of think Zigbee's gonna like die out. It's like, so basically what they tried to do is reproduce like what like kind of TCP/IP already does really well, and so like
right,
and so I think actually Wi-Fi is really just gonna kill the market. So already you have the ESP8266s that are just like
but I thought it was Bluetooth Low Energy that was killing off Zigbee, not Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi is too high power.
Oh, actually, Bluetooth Low Energy is really only for mobile connectivity, and I think although like I wrote a book on it with like Bob and Kevin, and it's like I really don't like the protocol. It's only for like kind of mobile connectivity, and actually a lot of the BLE startups that are coming out right now are just creating horrible products. I mean, just like these horrible things that just should not exist.
It's just a sensor connected to a smartphone, right?
Yeah. Just like it's like yet another proximity sensor, or yet another device.
Fitness tracker.
Yeah, find your lost keys or something like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. So, there is limited. I mean, it's usually just point to point too, isn't it? I mean, like, so that doesn't really imply networking. It's just so that's why Wi-Fi would be more likely for that.
Yeah. Well, I think Wi-Fi. So there's like a lot of reasons why. Like the only problem with Wi-Fi is that it's power hungry. But if you're in like a home scenario, then you don't really care that much about power.
Exactly.
Yep. So then you already have like kind of the inbuilt Wi-Fi network, and now you have like these $2 Wi-Fi modules and they're going to get cheaper too, because now
Yeah,
MediaTek is going to
scary.
start competing with like was it Espresso something, or the people that are doing the ESPs.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like MediaTek are the people that make the chips for those like $10 Shanzai cell phones. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and that's you keep seeing those pop
It's
up
all
too.
over. Yeah,
Those
that's
are
it.
still pretty closed off on the register set and everything, right? But they are at least they're
Oh
able
yeah.
to be purchased. And
Well, I mean, yeah, technically they're closed off on the register set, but like I think what a lot of people say that it's not open source, but actually the interesting thing about China is that it's like kind of default open source. It's just not officially that way. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah, like
everything is
that
reverse
Gongkai
engineered.
post that Bunny wrote, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't. Is that the one where he talks about the cheap cell phones or the?
yeah. Him and Zobs were reverse engineering I think one of the MediaTek chips, and then
Oh,
someone
okay,
else did
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I didn't read the post, but I saw his talk on it at
Yeah.
CCC. So.
Yep. That's the one. Yep.
So, but yeah. I mean, it's like it's basically that way. So I mean, like they don't publish the register set, but then if you go to Shenzhen and you pay like $10 for like a book on mobile phones, and then it has all the schematics and all the register sets for just about every like say Qualcomm or whatever chip.
I love it.
That's nuts.
You can actually go to the library and borrow the books and just Xerox them too over there. So.
That's even better.
I love it.
So
So
But,
what are you using these days then? So I mean, so we see that obviously you do wireless networks and you're interested in this stuff. What is your go-to? Are you still using Zigbee?
no. I just use 802.15.4. But I mean, like, kind of, I'm, yeah, like, I have, like, various projects that I'm interested in. So, like, my personal projects, then, I really like stage technology, and I'm trying to adapt a lot of the sensor network stuff to stage control, like technology control. And so, like, I work with a dance crew called Wrecking Crew, and then
Well,
we
I've
do a
seen
lot
the
of
video. Very
Awesome.
impressive.
Yeah. If people haven't
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
it, go watch it right now. It's amazing. We'll post it.
Oh yeah, it's well, it's really interesting because so basically, well, the technology behind it is actually just 802.15.4, and it's like a sensor network in reverse. So rather than collecting data, I'm actually just sending or we're just sending data out to each of the dancers, which acts as like a control node. So
Oh, you see, I thought watching that video, I thought like they all would have been synchronized at the start, and then they'd be sort of like an autonomous thing, so that you go through the routine and each dancer has their own little controller in that is all timed. I didn't know you actually sent anything to it wirelessly.
Oh no, it's sent from there's a main control computer, and then we send the triggers. Basically, so we use a program called Open Frameworks, which is like kind of it's like a platform for like just a lot of people use it for like projection mapping or like the creative coding type stuff. And then
Right.
so yeah, we just have a timeline with the audio, and then we have a CSV file with the time codes and the device address and the value you send to it. And then
So
it just like
Got it.
yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, it's like you can actually do it in a couple lines of code because you just loop through it, and then if the audio time code is greater than like the time code you have in your CSV file, then you just send the data.
That's awesome. And it's just like each node on the body then is just numbered as well. So like the arm or the leg or the chest piece or whatever, each one has its own individual address then, or what?
No. So each like dancer has their own individual address, and then they have multiple channels for like say that their arm, their face,
okay.
their etc.
Yeah. Okay,
But,
those are the channels that you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. It's so that's pretty impressive. But actually, the most interesting thing right now is like the dancers are like because there's a lot of maintenance that's required in order to like kind of keep up like that kind of show. Like they have to repair their own EL wire. So now they're soldering their own EL wire. They developed their own way to quick change.
You've got the dancers repairing their own stuff.
Like the part that I was like the most proud of is like we were at a TV station and did a performance, and one of the TV station technicians came out and like was saying, "Oh, you can't use wireless in here because you might interfere with the wireless microphones." So they pulled out their spectrum analyzer, showed that the wireless microphones were at like 850 megahertz and that they were transmitting at 920. It's like these dancers just like totally, totally own the freaking TV tech guy.
You probably could have stopped with.
Technicians were like kind of like laughing in the background.
Yeah, I could have stopped with. I've gotten a bunch of dancers to carry around spectrum analyzers because that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was just like, I saw that, I was like, oh, that's classic. That's awesome. So.
Love it.
But,
and so that's still going on, right? Because you said that you're kind of toying around with them a little bit, or what's the deal there?
Yeah. Actually, so they got signed by Sony Music, and so they're actually managed by Sony Music now. And then so we just got done with like a 2-week theater run at the Blue Man Theater in Tokyo.
That's awesome.
And then that was crazy. That's why I couldn't do the interview earlier. But
that's okay.
So it's getting more actually. So the interesting thing about stage technology is like it's extremely intense and I think like for Wrecking Crew's case, they're becoming more they're becoming more technology intensive. So right now it's going to be me and there's 2 other guys that are like helping me out on the we formed a stage technology group actually.
Yeah.
And then so it's one guy Markan he used to be like ex Google Ops and another guy named Masa who he hangs out at Hacker Farm, but he's like 30 years doing like kind of low level and OS stuff.
That's like the coolest crew of like just like we just tour the world like hacking together stuff when we're needed, and it's like
well, it's
like nerd superheroes.
I don't think that'd be the nerd superheroes are actually I know who they are. They're the ones that do all the disaster relief stuff. But but it is
Thunderbird
interesting.
Hackers. Thunderbirds.
Dave,
sorry, I'm showing my age.
Your age is showing. Shh, Dave, your age is showing.
It's like the bat signal. Quick, guys. We're needed to write some firmware.
Yeah, I do.
So I mean, for this system too, like. You were commissioned by them, or you came up with what was the story behind it too? Did you come up with the concept, or did they? Because I thought I remember seeing that someone else, another dance crew, used this, or I'm not sure if.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not like there's other groups that are like it's I don't think it's rocket science, but there are challenges, but I don't think it's rocket science. But yeah, so Wrecking Crew about 4 years ago, they were actually using EL and they just had like manual switches, and so they would like kind of jump and then turn off the EL wire. So and then like when you see them dance, their hands were always like at their waist. So and then they met this guy. His name was B-Boy Popeye, and he was studying at Kobe University in the media arts, and he was also a dancer too. And he helped them automate their first show, and then that was the one that got popular on YouTube, which is and so at that time they were just using an Arduino and an XP, like an Arduino and XP, and like kind of transmitting the triggers. But then when I had met them, then basically because it was like a hand soldered proto board that they were touring with, it was just like all their devices were falling apart. They had like random signal drops that they couldn't explain, and there were all these other issues. So I had to first of all explain to them that 2.4 gigahertz is not a good band to be in. If they have like mission critical control signals.
Why is that?
Because like everybody, like a lot of people use like Wi-Fi or like especially like at venues where they perform, like concert venues or club venues.
Yeah.
Then everyone's
got their cell phone turned on and their Wi-Fi switched on, right? So
and they're also using it too, and so there's this huge amount of traffic, and then you basically create a denial of service if you're on 2.4 gigahertz.
Yep.
Especially if you have like low latency kind of requirements. So that's why I moved them to 900 megahertz.
What are the latency like for that kind of thing? I mean, it's like human level, so it's like visual, like 30 milliseconds type of timing, or how deterministic does it need to be?
I'd say like probably around 10 milliseconds is like the minimum resolution.
Yeah, that's pretty demanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because because people are very sensitive. Like if the visual doesn't sync with the well, you guys probably know it, right? If the visual doesn't sync with the audio perfectly, then you kind of lose that sense of illusion.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's some tough timing though. I mean, like especially because if you're doing it across devices, right?
Nadia's here. So Nadia is. Hi Nadia. Oh, she's the French chef that's staying at Hacker Farm. She's cooking every day too. So. Oh, you want to say hello?
The French chef at the.
I just saw a tweet about this. Yeah.
She's staying here. Oh, hi Nadia. Please say hello.
Who is it?
So they do a popular podcast radio show.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say it's a loaded questions.
Hey, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for cooking for Akiba.
Yeah, that's me.
That's awesome.
Goodness.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So that was pretty quick. So she's actually staying here for 3 months, and then but she's like cooking every night, and so it's amazing. And then when she first started cooking, it was like 2 or 3 people, and then it's been 2 weeks now, and last night there was like eight or 9 people, and it just keeps on growing.
Yep. Yeah, man, word spreads.
So yeah, she cooks meals, and she only charges for the groceries, and they're just like delicious French meals. Like last night was, I think, like beef in a French wine sauce and a strawberry tart for dessert. So.
Good Lord. And so how much are tickets out to the Hacker Farm? How can we get an invite?
Yeah. Oh, you guys are always welcome. So I think we haven't created a website yet, just because we're still trying to like renovate everything. But you guys are always welcome to just come hang out. And then,
thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
So I mean, yeah, actually, almost anyone is welcome to hang out. Just tell us in advance so we prepare. So
don't just show up.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a line now at the door, so this is kind of weird.
Oh no, it's not. It's not bad. I think
we should. I was going to say we should probably get back to electronics because we have been.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Dissed before for not. That's all right.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell us about Akihabara.
Oh, Akihabara.
If I'm pronouncing it correctly. Am I?
Oh, it's pretty close. It's Akihabara. It's the pronunciation,
right.
But yeah, it's like I don't know how to explain it. Actually, I used to think Akihabara was awesome, and then I went to Shenzhen, and then I just like
right,
it's
okay, right.
Like in terms of electronics, like worldwide, in terms of electronics, I'd have to say Shenzhen is just the place to be. Like Shenzhen is what Akihabara was like maybe 30 years ago.
When Japan was the center of the electronics universe in the 80s.
Oh, gee, yeah, you don't want to get me even started on that. It's like,
no, yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. Sorry, we do want to get you started on that. So what happened?
No, just like also like I think like the way that Japan does a lot of technology. I think like actually a lot of Asian countries kind of just they just understand manufacturing, and Japan is like really like that. In fact, Japan like. A lot of Japanese companies are just extremely anal, and so they only put value on manufacturing and hardware sales. Whereas the big shift that happened was that like actually software became like more important. Like hardware is kind of generic, and then the software is the differentiation.
Right.
And then that just killed most of the Japanese technology companies. Like when I was consulting on the IP core stuff to I think it was like Panasonic. And then I remember distinctly at that time they said, like Apple would never make it in Japan because the iPhone doesn't cater to Japanese tastes. And then the iPhone is just like killing everybody right now. That was like famous last words. I mean, it should be in like in like the Harvard Business Review, like quote Hall of Fame.
Who needs more than 64K of memory type of statement, right? Yeah.
So I mean, like, I can go on for that for a long time, but I think you'd have to get me more drunk. So then, and then and you'd need like a 3-hour podcast or something. So.
We've done those, so I'm just saying, if you got an open day, it's probably a little early to start drinking there though. So that's.
But it's still pretty awesome, right? You can still turn up to this. Is it like just one building, or is it like a whole street or complex or what?
Yeah, no, it's like an area, and it's still awesome.
Area,
and like I talked to a lot of people about it. Like so, like Shenzhen would be awesome in terms of just like raw parts that are available. But Akihabara is like so. There's a huge difference. So Shenzhen is catered towards business. So if you're gonna do like an electronics business, that's where you want to be. And Akihabara is where you just have like kind of they're called maniac otaku, which is like kind of just like the crazy hardcore nerds. And then so if you're
that sounds good.
if you're like just interested in just doing like really crazy things, like they have
Right.
like then they just have like the weird parts that you would never even find in Shenzhen, like these
Got it.
transducers, like piezoelectric transducers or magnetoresistive, blah blah blah, and so, and then along with that, they would have like kind of manga on how to use them. So it's like kind of
Right.
so
Interesting.
yeah. So
It's still streets ahead than what we've got here, which is nothing.
well,
We
yeah,
have like a catalog company who doesn't stock anything, so that's basically.
I heard that Radio Shack closed. Oh, so you're talking about Australia? Because in the
I'm
US,
talking about Australia. Yep.
Yeah.
Australia actually has a lot of stuff. I mean, I used to like I think Silicon Chip was the magazine, and they had just like crazy.
Silicon Chip is the magazine. It's still going, but we don't have any. Well, we've got our local JCar electronics store, but that's like it.
Oh, really?
You know,
I see.
Like, yeah.
My image of Australia is just you have like a lot of hardcore kind of engineer, like home engineers and stuff that are just like doing these crazy projects. Is like that's
Well, I'm sure we have no shortage of them, but we don't, because most people don't live like in the smack centre of the Sydney, like in the middle of the city here, right? That's not our culture, right? Everyone lives out in the suburbs, so it's not like everyone sort of gets together. You know, we don't have 50 hacker spaces and all that sort of stuff. You know, we've got like one. You know, like I think there's maybe 4 in the whole country or something. You know,
but actually there's quite a few. Oh, by the way, sorry. Shout outs to Sydney Hackerspace and Perth Hackerspace. So it was awesome hanging out with you guys at the Hacker Camp last year. So, anyways, sorry about that.
Right? Okay.
Wait, Dave, did we mention to Akiba we have listeners? I don't know if he knew. I don't think he knows we don't have listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, listeners. You guys have...
Yeah, it's awkward.
What?
Anyway, no, like it's just different culture here. We just don't have the same sort of tight knit community that you get in the US and Europe and and Asia and places like that. It's just it's just a different spread out culture here. So unfortunately,
yeah, I think everywhere is different. There's like I think hackerspaces are actually kind of fragmenting. It's an interesting thing because like I remember when they were like there was like hacker spaces and then maker spaces were coming out, and then now there's a lot of even maker spaces are kind of there's like there's like the commercial ones that are turned into like kind of pseudo accelerators, and then
right, yeah.
but yeah,
and then it's so easy for anyone to set up their own kick-ass home lab these days, right?
Yes.
It's like almost as if, well, if you're not into the social side of it, why do you need a hackerspace? You know, you can buy your own, pick and place machine for a couple of grand. You can buy your own laser cutter. You can buy your own 3D printer. You can, buy your own desoldering tools, all that sort of jazz.
Well, actually, so like I've started a few hacker spaces, and I think one of the interesting things I've discovered is I used to believe that like hacker spaces were all about tools. And then, but I've seen a lot of fab labs kind of pop up in Tokyo, and they're just like, and they're not very active. And I really think that the tools don't really matter that much.
Okay.
What I really believe is like interesting projects. So as long as you have interesting projects, that attracts interesting people, which attracts more interesting projects. And so that's really the feedback loop that you want.
It's a social side, so it's the social side of things.
Yeah. Well,
You get to hang out with other like-minded people.
Yeah, I mean, like I think hacker spaces and the hacker community generally is really just all about the people. And then and
totally.
And and then the fact that like everyone's open makes it a lot easier. Like that's why I can't hang out in Silicon Valley, is because you end up just kind of conversing with douchebags. And
right, who just want to form an Internet of Things startup,
Yeah, or just like kind of you go like, I mean, so actually I met a lot of cool people in Silicon Valley. So I refer to Silicon Valley the same way I refer to like like the Hollywood scene, is like the Silicon Valley scene.
Right.
But yeah, it's just, I don't like kind of the whole vibe. I was actually discussing that, or I was chatting with like my friend who in Berlin, and she's like kind of she had just wrote a review of Peter Thiel's book, and like kind of like and she was like discussing like his lessons on entrepreneurship. And I was like just commenting that, oh, that's all bullshit, and that he's like a douchebag. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's all about being an entrepreneur and all that sort of jazz,
Well, I think and
rather than doing it for the love of doing it.
Yeah, well, there's the Silicon Valley ethos, which is like kind of, I mean, there's like kind of the geek culture, but it's like it's kind of corrupted, and so. They have like this weird admiration for like, creating billion-dollar startups and exploiting people and like, and like ruthlessness. And like even like Steve Jobs is like kind of idolized, and he was like a huge asshole,
yeah, of course.
Right? So, so I
love it.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. I mean, like what you guys are doing is awesome because you guys are kind of sharing, like disseminating knowledge, and then and it's like it's obviously a labor of love because I can't see you guys creating like $1 billion startup off of the app.
No, it's a labor of love, and if we can make a living doing it, well, great. It's one of those things. If we can make a living, awesome.
Well, I mean, money always changes things, including in tech projects, right? I mean, like when it starts out as an open source project. I mean, we've heard this story a couple times. It starts out as an open source project, and then eventually, we have to make money. We have to, we have investors now. We have to, blah 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 blah. So it just changes
you don't
things.
have to make money. You can just do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying though, but if
fun of it,
at some point there's like money needs to be made, but then there's some issues. Like I was listening to your whole thing on the Arduino situation, and then that's sad, but it's also kind of understandable that like that break kind of happened. Like like it's just like that's what happens when like especially when you have a group and all the intentions are the best, but then somebody gets greedy and then it just creates like a bad situation. So
I have to say like the whole like money changes things kind of thing. Like so one of my family members started a business with her best friend. And I was just like, it's like, you can do that, and it sounds like a great idea, but like, have the knowledge that like you might lose your best friend. Like that's the thing. It just changes how things operate between like human relationships because it's like people switch into survival mode and they become it just changes things no matter what. So.
Oh yeah, actually, I think I think it. So like going into business with someone is also like getting married to them too, and so like there's like weird things pop up that a lot of times like weird things pop up that really should be dealt with in therapy. But
so have you had business partners? I mean, what is your are you like a registered business now and everything, or is it more kind of like as work comes along?
Oh, I'm a corporation, but but yeah, I'm just like I just run it by myself. I'm the only person inside my corporation. It just makes
head
things
honcho.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
Same here.
And also the bathroom cleaner too. So. But it's like I've seen a lot of bad business breakups, and there's so many horror stories out there.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
and Akiva's just been run over by a truck, folks. He's podcasting from the middle of the road, and that's the show's over.
Oh, sorry, was that
That's all right.
Go on.
Well, I was just going to ask, does that mean that like now that you're living on the farm and everything, you have lower expenses? Does that end up like just giving you more room to run on like needing like operating capital then for your business and for living and everything? Is that kind of part of the idea out there for not just you but other people now?
I think the point really is just to do what you want to do, and so like the issue is like in Tokyo, me and like a bunch of other people, especially like in hackerspaces, people working on open source projects, is like there's a lot of financial stress, right? Because you constantly have to like kind of make money to like even just live in Tokyo. And for me, it reached a point where I was hustling so much that I was either not in the city, or or like I was always in my lab working on stuff that I couldn't really even enjoy the city, and so it turned into like
What's
a bad.
hustling mean for those who don't?
Oh, you just
No.
like just getting like, especially if you're freelance or like consulting, then you just need to get like gigs, or there's like, so like there's a lot of projects that I normally would not have taken, except I needed like money
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You basically whore yourself out is pretty much what you do.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so I think like right now I'm at a point at least where I think it's important to try and at least to give myself like the space I need to do what I want, and the rest of the projects I just have the option to say like, F you, like screw
Right.
that, I don't want to take that on.
Yeah, no, that's the freedom, right? Dave talks about that all the time. About FU money is like
Totally.
like having reserves and being able to take the work you want. That's freedom, man. Like that's
Yeah. I think it's quite interesting. So there's there's another guy that moved out here from Tokyo. He's like a Python programmer, Python and various other programmers, C++, but he specializes in like say AI and computer vision. And he's, and he just moved out here so he could work on like weird augmented reality projects. And then and then another guy, Masa, he's like kind of like, he's the guy like 30 years of just like low level. I mean, he was like way back in the day. He was programming Zylogs as a hobby. So like,
nice.
And then he rented a place out here for like $50 a month. And it was just, I mean, it was basically like a hole in the ground with like 4 deteriorating walls, but like
Right, and gigabit and Ethernet, though, I bet, right?
Yeah, right.
So now we have Hacker Farm, and then we ended up renting the cafe that like went out of business. So now we have the cafe too, and then we have a building that was, somebody had committed suicide in it, so nobody wanted to use it, and so the owner just said,
We're not superstitious.
if you maintain it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had it cleansed by a Shinto priest who was also a PHP programmer.
Oh.
And so like, and as
I'm a Shinto. He's pouring himself out on the side as a Shinto priest to make money for his.
well, his family background is like, they're like from a temple family, and so he's a Shinto priest, but actually he was working as a PHP programmer to make ends meet, and so he was our friend, and so he came and cleansed the house, and then so like, and then but one of the guys that's like a member of Hacker Farm, he runs the local ISP, so he messaged us one day and said, oh, did you know that like NTT is starting a trial of gigabit fiber in your area? Are you guys interested? It's like, sign us up, all 3 places, sign it up now, now.
And how much does this cost?
It's I think $50 per month per line. So we have
Dude, I'm paying $400 a month for 20 meg.
Oh really?
For 20 meg business line. That's how expensive internet here is in Australia. $400 Australian, which is about 300 US or 350 US or something.
Well, Japan has like disgustingly fast internet, but I think the problem is the PC literacy is so low. So it's like really, there's like this weird, yeah.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Oh, I mean,
is it mostly in the remote areas? You're saying that's where it's low, or like countrywide?
I think even in Tokyo, like there's not a lot of people that like would properly know how to use like a computer to, like there's everybody is on their mobile.
I pictured Japanese people as the would have been one of the leading societies in that regard. I just picture Japanese society as a high-tech, highly educated society. No?
Don't get me wrong. There are like hardcore, users, but there's the general, like the people that I meet, especially, like they're just not literate. So
Wow.
Maybe Dave and I are giving too much credit to the normals around the U.S. and Australia, though. Maybe that's the real problem, because I mean, depends on which demographics you're talking about too, right? It's like if you're,
No, totally.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think in
Yeah,
the
talking-
U.S., like I don't know much about Australia, but in the U.S., then I think there's more of a culture of using a PC. Like actually, they started teaching it in schools like at quite early ages, whereas I think the fact that it's like used in schools, like or when it got used in schools in Japan was like kind of like just fairly recent, I think. And I think
Wow.
like the normal kids
Jeez.
even today are still not very exposed to like computers and computer science.
Wow. We were using computers. We had computers in schools back in the 1980s.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Early.
So that was like a
1980s.
purely that's like a purely like a Western phenomenon because like in Japan,
Right.
they were using word processors up until I think like 1996 or 1997, and then they had their proprietary NEC OS, and then I think
Right.
and then Windows NT was kind of like the big one that kind of broke through, and businesses started switching over to Windows. So that was like, but that was like around the the late 1990s, and so that was kind of whereas the U.S. was like from the 80s we were using like our Apple PCs and like using logo and like all that stuff. So
Logo.
yeah. Like,
Oh, goodness.
I mean, I can say on the
Yep.
corporate level, I've worked with a couple Japanese companies before, and like usually software interfaces are very so. Like on the power level, when I was at ABB, we had some Japanese coworkers in ABB even, and it was like the whole system was just different, right?
oh.
And then
yeah.
Right.
and that was just because it was just like there was big regulations there, or especially around the power stuff. But then like when I was doing semiconductor stuff too, like I remember the Tokyo Electron, which is like one of the big processing companies, they always had very different, just like how everything software and interfaces always was very different to me. Like just from what I expected from all the other companies.
Yeah,
So, I mean, maybe that's part of it.
Well, I think like I think it's hard to find like good programmers with a lot of experience out here, and then yeah. So actually, it's interesting because like being like a technical area in the countryside is like we actually attract a lot of programmers, like kind of. But yeah, so
Hippies.
in Osaka for like the DNA sequencing stuff, I'm working with I had to work with a company that was like a contract company that had built the original system for the DNA sequencers that were being made, and they were like they were considered a very high tech company. They were like Agilent, or I guess Keysight affiliate and all that, blah blah blah, like instrumentation, and their GUI interface was written in Delphi, which is I had to open up my Pascal books and to understand like what
Just
was
like
going
Altium,
on.
though, right?
You do realise that Altium PCB software is written in Delphi.
Oh really? I didn't even know people still use that.
Yeah.
The
I
world's
was-
crumbling
yep.
around Akiba right now. Everything he knows is a lie.
I was like, I was complaining. Like my friend had actually recruited me to that to I guess consult or contract for that company, and then I was complaining to him that like Delphi and Pascal isn't going to be like a big kind of CV booster for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, it's harder to get programmers these days too. In general, right? You have to train them basically, so that becomes
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Altium, when they were hiring programmers, it was like you could not find a single person that had Delphi on their resume, so you just didn't make it a requirement.
Yeah,
You just went, "Are you a good programmer? Right, you can learn."
Yeah.
That was basically it.
It's just sad, like to see, like, especially hanging out like in the hacker community, everyone's like kind of up to date on like what's like the shiny new programming languages or the high performance ones or whatever. Like the people I talk to, they're like, oh, I'm using OpenCL or something like that, right? And then and then you hang out with that company and they're like, yeah, we're using Delphi, and the guy's like super proud of it, and I'm just like, oh, it's
You're
like,
right.
and then of course. And then there's the other guy, the firmware guy, who programs in like PLC ladder logic, and it's like, oh god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of
You'd
course.
fit it in the Midwest. There's a lot of those out here.
So, yeah.
I used to work with a company that in Germany that did Forth.
Oh,
Yeah.
They were
geez,
still
man.
they were using Forth. Yep, they were like all their products used Forth.
Oh,
And a custom German written, this German written Forth compiler. Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
wow.
that was their love, So all their products, yep.
Yeah, that's like
Scary. It's just
that's that's kind of like inherited.
So there they do. So there they had their Texas Instruments TMS 320 DSP processor running fourth. You know, and it's just
And quickly.
scary.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the technology horror story.
I know.
What is it? Technical debt. Like they inherited, and then nobody has the balls to like say, oh, we should probably use a commercial off the shelf compiler like
Right.
GCC or something.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of built up stuff over time, so that affects it. So I was wondering about the farm as well. So are you guys doing any of the stuff with that open source? I forget the name of it now. Like the open source
the Open
toolkit
Village construction set. I
Yeah,
think.
that one. Yep. Are you guys doing that at all?
Well, I think one of the guys here. So like, he's a rice farmer, and he was communicating with the guys from that group. But we haven't really done much. And actually, like, so we have one agriculture project. It just got into the newspaper because it was I guess it was kind of interesting. But we're monitoring the water levels in rice paddies, and then having them go to like, what is it? It goes to a 3G modem, and then it goes to a back end server, and that server is hosted on like the Heroku cloud platform, and then it just so people can check it on their smartphones. But the idea is the idea is that there's a lot of older people that and then that is hard, like they have to drive out and check the water levels every day to make sure that the water doesn't like kind of that there's no holes in the rice paddy, or else like the rice crop is going to suffer. And so I think we're trying to automate that, but I think there's a small logic mistake in that, like, so we're collaborating with a company, and they did like a mobile platform, and a lot of the rice farmers are older. They don't have smartphones, so you have to make some adjustments in that assumption.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, we can't finish up the show without having our... I'm pretty sure you're our first Japanese guest.
Oh, actually,
Am I
I'm
right,
Chinese. Well, Chinese-American, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you live in Japan. You've lived there for like ever. Right, 12 years, I think?
Yeah, 13 around.
Well, there you go, 13 years. That's good enough for us. We have to talk about the tsunami and Fukushima and all that jazz and what that's had, what impact that's had on the tech industry. Because all I saw at the time was like, these semiconductor fab companies, that make all the hard drives and everything. I think 30% of the hard drives in the world came out of Japan or something. And all these, pristine fab, plants were just underwater, like in like a meter of water across their entire factory floor.
Oh,
What impact did it have, and what impact is it still having?
I don't think the tsunami, I don't believe, really affected many like, I guess, fabs, other than like, I think it might have hit Hitachi, which is like kind of on the coast, or it might have affected that area. Actually, Hitachi probably wasn't affected by that tsunami as much as like the city of Hitachi is near Fukushima Daiichi. Right. So I think that was in the evacuation zone. I think the earthquake probably had more to do with like the stoppage, the earthquake, and all the infrastructure issues that occurred after that.
Oh yeah, shipping kind of slows down at that point.
Yeah. So there was, I think it was the hard drive, and then there was Renesas had to close down their fabs for a while.
That's right. Their fabs all were because they're a Japanese company, right?
Yeah.
And they and most of their fabs are in Japan.
Yeah, and so they're like I think the number one supplier for like kind of automotive ICs.
They are. Yep.
And so they shut down their thing, and then that caused like the whole backlog on the automotive stuff. And then it was you get the whole chain reaction. But
Yeah, I can remember we our car had to go in like it got smashed up, and we needed a new door or something. It had to come from Japan, and they went, well, the whole factory's underwater.
Oh.
You're going to have to wait 6 months, and I go, yep, I understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
yeah. So we waited 6 months for our new door for our car.
Oh, that's
And
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like a lot of areas suffered. I think there's still like a lot of areas are still like recovering too, which is kind of sad.
oh
because,
yeah, I can imagine. But you didn't see much in the tech industry change. Would that be?
No, so the interesting thing was
Accurate?
when all of that was happening, the internet was perfectly fine. Like the cell phone networks went down, like the train networks went down, and then but like the internet was just like it was amazingly fast.
That's what it's
internet.
designed to do. That's what it's designed to do. That's why the Department of Defense developed the internet, so that during times of war and all the infrastructure gets destroyed, it still works.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, it was amazing, and then like so that's why like I think a lot of there were all these pictures that were coming out of Japan when all that was happening, and then there was kind of there were like a lot of logistical problems. Like at Tokyo Hackerspace, we were handling a lot of logistics for like Red Cross and stuff to interface with like areas that needed it, and but yeah, it was awesome because like the internet just held up really well. It was but yeah, the really damaging thing to Japan was actually when Fukushima was blowing up, because that really like just freaked people out. So
right. I can imagine.
Well, I saw even just the other day maybe it's today or yesterday. There was a thing that said there was the title of the article was "A Robot Dies After 3 Hours Inside Fukushima, the reactor."
Oh, what?
And I was just like, that is a freaky thought of like a robot dying. Like I don't know what about that like that phrase that gets me, but it's like that means it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, like probably. I mean, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they properly shield, because I guess you'd have to do like you'd have to have like rad hard robots. Maybe they're just not using rad hard robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes out. I've done some research into it, and it seems to be, it's not the huge deal. They got people, Yanks in the US. Oh, the radiation's on our beaches. It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Well, we started a group called Safecast, which was doing radiation monitoring, and then
I was gonna ask about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then so I had actually measured because like the background radiation in Tokyo, like the dosage was around 0.1 microsieverts per hour, and then I went to LA, and this was after Fukushima, and then like almost immediately after the whole Fukushima thing, and I went to LA, and then everybody's like freaking out about all that stuff, and I was measuring the ground with my Geiger counter, and it was like 0.2 microsieverts per hour, which is like double Tokyo.
Exactly.
And because because there was so much nuclear testing in the Pacific Ocean that like just any place on the Pacific Ocean is just going to get a lot of like it still gets a lot of fallout, or there's like fallout there. And so like and then so all these people in California were like freaking out about like Japan. I'm just like, actually
You're a bunch of ignorance.
Yeah.
Here, look, can prove it.
That was so sorry. I guess I'm being long-winded, but that reminded me of like when we were doing like the smart grid stuff, and the people were complaining about like the Zigbee in the smart meters. Like they were allergic to like Wi-Fi and stuff. And then there's like
those people.
There was this protester of PG&E, and then they have a picture of her on her cell phone, on her iPhone, and I'm just like, I was like, oh my god, you are like, it's like that's one of those things that I just feel like hitting my head against the wall.
I'm allergic to radiation. I also sleep in a satellite dish, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that just, I mean, what is it? Because like Wi-Fi routers are like 200 milliwatts, like around,
Exactly.
Whereas like the iPhones are like 1 watt of power like transmitting, and it's like right on your ear. So
Yep.
But anyways, so sorry, I was ranting. That's like kind of my pet peeve. So.
That's all right. Those people are nuts.
So we also saw on Twitter you guys got a scanning electron microscope. What was is this just like we have space?
Oh, it was let's see. Oh, so Bunny had come down to Tokyo for his like 40th birthday, and then we were like, so I got him fitted for like a pair of grills. So like the grills are like tooth caps, like silver tooth caps,
platinum grills, like a wrapper.
I couldn't afford the gold grills, so I got him like a set of 6 silver, like sterling silver grills, so that like, and I'm gonna try and get like the B monogram, so that when he like, so later on when he interviews people or when he like kind of does stuff, he can just like kind of show up with silver tooth caps. Like, yeah, what's up? You interested in ASICs? But
that would be kind of freaky. You should somehow get like embed LEDs or blinkies or something, right? I mean, like.
Well, that's why I originally I was testing out like there's a grill shop in Akihabara, and I wanted to test it out just so that I could get fitted for grills, and then try and see if there's like anything that can be done with like just like weird illumination stuff, like as a stage prop. But yeah, so he was here for his 40th birthday, and then like my friend Nava, who's also kind of like, he's like bioinformatics guy, but he's in the hacker scene. He's like heavily into like used equipment, and then he's like, oh, by the way, there's like a scanning electron microscope available in the area for like $10,000. And then I think Bunny and Markan. So Markan is like another guy who's he's like a Python programmer. He's like a reverse engineer, and he's the one that reverse engineered the Connect API.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Hector. So he won the Adafruit Prize for reversing the Connect API, and then
yeah.
So like they had wanted a scanning electron microscope for a long time, and for me, like I'm just like, I'm not, I'm on the fence about it. But then they needed a place to store it, so I was like, oh, you guys can just keep it here. And so
Nice.
yeah, so we all kind of pitched in, and then yeah, the scanning electron microscope is just like actually sitting right next to me. It's so Bunny's coming here. Bunny's coming here, I think, next week to like start playing around with it. And then Markan will be here. He's going to try and reverse the video protocol so that it can be remotely operated from the internet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're thinking about doing some kind of like just like a cheap scanning electron service for people that want like their like weird.
I was going to say that begs the
But
yep, that automatically begs that question.
Yeah. So I think we probably just need to I need to train some of the people on how to use it. The only thing is, I guess we have to set some guidelines, because I think some people would just send in like weird random stuff. So like we don't want like biohazard material being sent in the mail,
right.
Things like that. So
Right.
And if anything, if it's organic and it ships for long enough, anything could be biohazard to a to a SEM, right?
We don't want like nasty stuff either. Like
don't you usually need pretty thin profile things as well to try actually get through it and like load up? I mean, you can get surface profile stuff, but if you actually want to see like the layer, or am I thinking of something else?
You have to prepare it. So basically, the scanning electron microscope requires the material to be conductive. So if you want to do organic materials, then you actually have to get a thin film coating machine. So we're also kind of considering getting a sputtering machine to coat
Nice.
other things too. So actually,
that's like a tenth of a fab right there. I mean, you might as well go whole hog. I mean, like
You're right.
you just need some litho and some etching, some dry etch, and some diffusion, and you're set. I mean, you could be making chips by Christmas. Like.
Well, we actually had discussed the possibility of getting like a 1 micron fab out here, because the
Nice.
equipment is so cheap. It's like 1980s technology.
Yep.
And then
Right.
but
of course.
But yeah, sputtering machines are pretty cheap. They're like $800 to $1,000 approximately for the used ones.
Yeah.
So like, they're not too
Is
bad.
it just like the containers with the actual sputter material, the expensive part? Is that the idea?
So the sputtering machine, I think it has the magnetron, and then I guess the whole thing is a bit expensive, but probably the most expensive part, in my opinion, is probably just the vacuum.
The turbo
pump.
pumps.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if it uses a turbo pump. I think it just uses a roughing pump, but
Oh, it does. Okay.
I'm not sure. But the SEM has like a roughing pump and then an integrated turbo turbomolecular pump, which is pretty nice. So.
Yeah. Unless something gets in it, which is why you have to make sure that people don't send you bagels or stuff that's crumbly.
Yeah. I think so. We have to set policies on that. But anyways, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That would be very useful, I think. I mean, like as a service, that would be very useful. Is logistics? I mean, like obviously you have very strong internet now. What about like? I mean, I don't know how the logistics are out there. I assume pretty good with shipping and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, geez, Amazon Prime, like proud member. This like same day delivery, like order in the morning, get it by evening. But actually the delivery man normally comes like 2 or 3 times a day. So like by now it's like, oh, how's your wife doing? It's like is your kid still sick? I hope he gets better soon.
Yeah. Right. See, now you're gonna have the same problem that most of us. I'm gonna consider you a suburbanite now, even though you're a rural light.
Really?
Eventually, you're gonna have to buy more buildings or stop buying stuff, man. You know, like the space doesn't last. Dave knows this one too. The space doesn't last forever.
Oh yeah.
Eventually, you run out of room.
It's already going. Like when I first came, I thought we had like space, forever, and then it's already like some of the other guys were saying that like we have to kind of slow down.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, Dave mentioned people can have their own labs and like that stuff. It can just get away from you. You just have, oh, well, I've got the junk pile and I've got the second junk pile and then the maybe pile, then all the gear and all the stuff around the gear. And it's just like, ugh.
Oh,
it can get bad real quick.
Well, there's 2 abandoned houses in the area that we have our eye on. And then there's also an abandoned school. So I think if things get good enough out here, then we want to hopefully try and get some of the classrooms from that school. But,
what's the climate like? Is it pretty temperate like year round? Or?
It's about the same as Tokyo. So it has a definite 4 seasons. Like,
it does. Okay.
Yeah, so there's like winter is cold, summer is hot, but like spring and autumn are actually just amazingly beautiful out here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's the only downside to renting more. That's what I was getting at with space is like when you need to heat a lot of that space, then that's when it starts to get kind of dicey too. Like rent's cheap, heat's expensive, kind of thing. So
we use kerosene heaters, and then but yeah, it's like. I try not. I only heat like what's needed because it does get expensive. Like they're like the associated costs can get pretty high actually.
So one last thing I wanted to ask you about. I'm looking at a picture that you posted back in February of a multi-channel nanoamp picoamp quad transimpedance. What the hell is this for? Because it's in a nice little project box too.
It's for DNA sequencing. So right now it's there's different methods of DNA sequencing, but like I think the one that I'm working on with like Osaka University is based on nanopore technology. And so basically, you dislodge a single gold atom and then you you kind of,
as you do,
you force the DNA strands through it. And then so the conductivity between the electrodes, like because you create a small hole with 2 electrodes on it, and then the conductivity inside that hole changes based on the base pair of the DNA. And so, like,
it always comes down to conductivity, don't you? You can analyze anything in blood with just conductivity. It's all about the chemistry and the atomic level stuff that's going on underneath, right?
Well, actually, yeah. So there's, I mean, like, you can actually kind of stratify, conductivity and current measurement. And so, like, I think in general electronics, you really don't have to go too far below like microamp, and rarely into. Well,
no, that's right. Yeah.
Nanoamp. So actually, your is it the microcurrent?
Yep, microcurrent.
Yeah, because it does nanoamp measurement.
Yep.
And then so I think that's probably the lower limit of what you really need for like practical electronics. But then when you get to electrophysiology, then which is like the boundary between like I guess biology and electronics, then that gets into like picoamp measurements, and so that's where you start needing like kind of
femtoamps. Yeah, I've got the ability in the lab here to generate femtoamps.
Oh, really?
With a piece,
So yeah.
Dude,
with
do you
a
have
piece
a,
of test gear from Cleveland.
do you have a Keithley?
yeah, with the old Keithley test gear.
Oh,
Yeah, I can
nice.
generate anywhere from femtoamps up to amps.
Yeah. Keithleys. They come up with some pretty good stuff, especially now that I'm involved in a lot of like low current stuff. But wait, so Chris, you were part of Keithley before, right?
I live about 3 miles from Keithley right now. Yeah, I used to work there for 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Nice. Did you do a lot of the low current stuff, or like I guess they have like a
Yeah, I worked on the 6517B for a little while, the electrometer, and
Oh, okay. Yeah. The
actually that's
electrometer's
another
pretty
time I worked with the Japanese customers. That's another thing I wanted to say is that about the Japanese culture, especially like, my God, if you get customers or even like coworkers that are like on that stuff, like they are so thorough with testing and they don't let anything drop. But like from a testing perspective, if you're doing that stuff, it's really useful because it's just like having a second audit or QA team basically.
Yeah. They're extremely
it's annoying
anal.
and awesome. yeah, right.
Amazingly anal about testing, but it's really good.
It's really good when you want to make sure something works. It's really bad when it's like Friday at 5:30 and you're like,
Get the email. Well, we found these problems and we want them fixed immediately. It's like
right, exactly. Yeah. So how is this board working out? I mean, what did you? Looks like ADI parts on board. I mean.
Oh yeah. I'm using right now. I'm using an old school op amp, which is the OPA 111, which is like it's a really classic kind of JFET op amp, like a low, like very low noise, low current. Like the op amp itself is like $50 a piece.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like one of those. So,
Yeah.
And so, but it's designed for like kind of like transimpedance, and I run a high transimpedance. So basically, with that op amp, I think we were able to get like in the tens of picoamp resolution, and we have like 0.5 picoamps of noise. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's
nice.
good.
Yep.
But yeah,
A lot of that comes down to getting that big feedback resistor too. That's always a really important thing, you know.
Yeah, actually, I had to test like a lot of feedback resistors, like a lot of like giga ohm feedback resistors that would just But that's interesting too. So like I'm actually sorry, I'm actually, so in electronics, I'm not really interested in pure electronics these days, or even pure technology. So I'm interested in like kind of that interface, like so like biology and electronics, or like performing arts and electronics and things like that. Like, but because right now there's like so many people that are just like, oh, I can write blah 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 in 5 lines of code or something like that, and that feels kind of boring to me these days. So.
Right. Yeah, no. So like last week, I was talking about my dismay at the electronics industry, and actually one person suggested, I thought it was really good advice. It's like when you're dismayed with just electronics, you need to go find that end application, and it seems like that's what you're doing. You're finding these interesting uses, and then there's a lot of technical problems that crop up around that, either manufacturing or low current or whatever it might be, and then you can solve those as they come along.
Yeah, I think so. It keeps things a lot more interesting, and especially, like I think it's important to collaborate with people that aren't in the electronics, especially like dancers. They have no idea of the limitations, so they ask for the impossible, and then although it's not possible to deliver on it, though, you still kind of stretch yourself. So you wouldn't ask that question yourself normally, so you'd. They would. I mean, they would. It was. They would just ask just like amazingly like questions like, can this run? Can we run like this? Like 5 meters of the WS2812 LEDs off of one AA battery or something like that. And it's like, no, not impossible.
For how long?
It's like, So, but I mean, it's interesting. Like the stuff that they ask is like really, So that's why I think like a lot of people like involved in technology and engineering, and especially people starting out, should really like look for collaborations, and that's I think the fastest way to really learn and improve yourself.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's another thing that Dave and I talked about too. Is like we're both of us aren't really, we don't have those end products that we're working towards, and it's
Well,
probably because of the collaboration aspect.
yeah, well, I think because the contextual electronics is like really good. Because actually, one way that you really learn something inside and out is by teaching it. So you actually, as a teacher, you probably learn more than the
Yeah,
students.
totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely that. Yeah, but I mean even that but that's where I define the end project, right? If we had someone else coming to us and like being like, can you build me X for X amount for Y dollars? That's a different thing.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
how.
You-
Yeah, I don't know how the dollar amounts work out for the project you're working on, but that's just a constraint that ends up defining a lot of the design decisions, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, in my opinion, all that stuff is just logistics, and so like, but the most important thing is coming up with like the interesting idea, and then after that, then the logistics are all like they can be taken care of. Like, I mean, you can just go to a contract manufacturer in Shenzhen and then just provide them, maybe provide the design and the specs, then and then they'll just like source it and get all that stuff done. You'll have to handhold
Right,
them, but
Right.
So,
No, I know. But if you design in $110 op amp, right? Or no, it was
yeah, like $50 op amp, and you want to sell it
Yeah.
for $40 or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So
So-
that's so. But that's all logistics. I mean, like how much noise can you tolerate, and then that'll determine your price.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, sometimes the specs are what are ultimately gonna. You have to kind of make that trade off.
Yeah. I mean, that's all engineering. Engineering is just all trade offs. But yeah, I get like
Don't we know?
I get, I really like the original kind of open hardware scene when it was like when hardware was kind of more underground and people didn't care, and then that's when like all the crazy projects would be coming out. And then now that like there's all these like the hardware accelerators, blah blah blah, like the venture funds that are interested in hardware, and so you get all like the jocks that are coming into hardware, and so all the
Right.
so they get like all these like kind of like copycat projects and stuff, and it's not
Totally.
as fun.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, but we know exactly what's going to happen, right? In a couple more years, it'll
Yeah.
fall out of favor, and people will be like, "Oh my God, there's something new." Software will, I don't know, something else will come along, and
yeah. I think it's already like people are discovering that like hardware is like, oh my god, this is actually like manufacturing. It's like so.
right.
So it's already like I think people are discovering that it's not that easy. So
Yeah. And you guys are manufacturing but I mean, you mentioned to us that you've been manufacturing a lot of stuff on site. Is that kind of another mission of the hacker farm?
no, well I do it because since I have a pick and place machine, and then like I don't do like huge volumes, like so like I just sell like kind of my wireless Arduino clone, and then like I sell like three products, and then so I just manufacture them as needed. So I do batches of like 20 devices or 40 devices or something. And then
Oh, okay. So this is just like the through the Freak Lab shop, basically. Like you're just selling the stuff that you have been selling for a while.
Yeah. Actually, I need to get better about publishing, like not publishing, but like putting my designs into the shop. I think last year I had like 40 designs, and of that, like none of them made it into the shop because I just
40?
I just
That's awesome.
Wow.
well, I mean, it's just it's
I mean, yeah, there's iterations in there, but still, like that, dude, that's really impressive. Like, just like that iterate, like that much stuff that's really impressive.
Oh yeah. I think it's I like to just stay busy. So and I think every kind of design gives me more experience. So I just try and do a lot of different designs. But I need to start putting them in the shop. So it's just like my designs in the shop are like 4 years old now, I think. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know,
And
man.
where can people see your stuff?
Like a lot of it is like the wrecking crew stuff. Actually, there's like 10 different designs in there because they have like the original EL wire, the original like 6-channel EL wire controller. There's a 3-channel, and then the battery management was horrible with the lithium ion batteries because we had like 30 dancers, and so we had to maintain 60 batteries because we had to switch them out. And then so like
Oh, geez.
charging them all was
Nasty.
crazy. So I
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
build like kind of like gang chargers for lithium ion batteries, and then and just like yeah, so that alone was like I mean, it's like already just a lot of designs. And then I started working with Flare bartenders, and so they wanted like LEDs.
Wait, like Flare, like Office Space? Like, you're required to wear 37 pieces of Flare.
Yeah, they work at TGI Fridays. No, it's
Yeah, right.
they're like basically like trick bartenders, like the movie Cocktail.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
Right, yeah.
but yeah, so they requested like special things like the standard bottle for Flare bartending is the Malibu bottle because it's like it's perfectly balanced, and it just happened to turn out to be like white, so it's a perfect LED diffuser. So we ended up putting RGB power LEDs inside, and then having them wirelessly controlled so that while they're juggling, then they can control like the color and like kind of the switching sequence to the music. So
Wow.
just like really just
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
it's like random stuff like I like stuff that like actually has no potential to really make money and just like kind of and possibly shouldn't exist in a if you just based everything on perfect financial sense. And so like
Oh, yeah.
Right.
yeah
No
Yeah,
no
yeah.
market study, no MBA in the case.
yeah
Nothing like
yeah,
that, right?
yeah. I kind of I like silly projects or like kind of weird projects is like my thing. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Whatever did that balloon? I remember in that video that when Ian was interviewing you, you showed a balloon that you were working on. Did that end up going up?
oh like no that didn't end up going up, but that was an interesting experience because like in order to get a PCB inside the neck of a balloon, I actually had to purchase an anal speculum. So
Oh, wow.
so I had to go to the adult shop, and first of all I had to figure out how to say speculum in Japanese. And then finally, when he understood, he's like, "Oh, you want these? And do you want the vaginal speculum or the anal speculum?" And then I was like, probably the anal speculum." And then,
Why not both? Let's just be safe, right?
yeah. So
See, and that's when you just order online, man. I don't know how you went in, but
no, I don't think you can. I don't think you can order the thing online because you'd have to see and you'd have to like kind of compare it with the neck of the balloon, like the width of the balloon, and how much you need to stretch it to fit the PCB.
yeah.
And so so I actually pulled out a balloon and like I was like kind of inserting it in, like opening it and seeing if I could fit the PCB inside. So it was very handy that way. So, but yeah, that was it. That was one of the more interesting experiences I've had. But yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Are you fluent in Japanese though? Do you have to be around there?
No, I'm not. For living here 13 years, my Japanese is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, and if you surround yourself with people that you know, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, look, I have working Japanese, but then the people around here mostly speak English, or I can converse in Japanese, but it's not like I can't like communicate fully in Japanese. So.
yeah. Yeah, that's if you don't need to, I guess. That's usually what ends up
13
doing
years,
it. Yeah.
come on. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Dave still can't speak English, so I don't know. He'll figure it out one day.
No.
You guys, yeah,
Speaking
it's
strong.
This is
Yeah, it's drawing.
the whole because when I hang out with British people and then we talk about speaking English, they're like, "Oh, you don't speak English," because like American English. Like we're British, we speak the proper English. And I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. All right, so people can find your stuff on freaklabs.org? Yeah, .org.
The website's old. Like I haven't updated it in a while. So yeah, please stay tuned. And then I'm gonna redo my website in WordPress, which makes things easily maintainable. And then I'll probably start updating it normally.
Technical debt, Akiba.
Yeah. I've accumulated quite a bit of technical debt. So let me tell you. I'm in fact, you could call me technically broke. So.
I like that. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That could be the title of today's show.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Technically broke somehow.
Technically broke. Technically broke. Yeah. On many levels, that's been true in many points in my life. So.
Oh dear, Eddie. Well, we appreciate you stepping in at the last minute.
Oh, no problem.
Akiva.
No problem. It's been
Worked out
great.
really well.
Like literally the last minute.
I feel bad because like I was, I kept on telling Chris that I would do it, and then like just all these different things popped up. So.
Well,
But,
serendipitously,
all
we're here,
good.
so that's good.
Yeah, it's great. Well, yeah. So, and plus, I enjoy listening to the show. So I'm looking forward to many future shows with many interesting people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we'll just hang around because
well, it's interesting. I liked the show with Jeff Kaiser, so Mighty Ohm.
Oh yeah.
And then so he's very interesting. He's very clear about things. And then who's the guy that lives in the UK and does the crazy projects?
Mike.
Mike.
Oh,
Yeah. Was it Electronics Mike or
Mike's Electric Stuff.
Mike's
yeah.
Electric Stuff? That's it.
Mike's
yeah,
Electric
yeah.
Stuff.
So
Yes.
he's pretty awesome too. I like listening to him about like his junk dives into it. So
Cool.
but
All right. Thank you very much, Akiva.
so thank you for
joining us.
having
It's
me.
been awesome.
And
Transmitting from the hacker farm.
Oh yeah. And please, if you have a chance, if you're in Tokyo, then come on down.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe he's on a farm. There's just no. He's in the middle of a road. I swear he's transmitting from the middle of a 5-lane highway.
Okay. You
Gotta be.
You caught me. I actually run a cigarette stand on the side of the road, but actually.
Right? Yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks, mate.
Okay. Well,
Thanks for joining us.
care, and thanks for having me. So
All right.
See ya.
Thanks.
talk to you guys on Twitter.